Brace yourself. You're listening to E-Brace Radio.
We now welcome on a very special guest in E-Brace Radio, a man who started a TikTok journey with his son Dante and is on the way to making their documentary because of said TikTok journey. Mario Corto. Mario, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. I'm hanging in there, staying busy, right?
That's right.
So my first question, is it fair to say that you're a TikTok star?
I try to tell my wife that I'm TikTok star and famous all the time, but she's not buying it. And same with people that don't know me. But it's amazing to me that when I go to a grocery store and people come up to me and knock on the window, like, "Are you the guy from TikTok?" And I'm like, "Wow, is this really happening?" But they're more seeing Dante in the car with me. And of course, Dante's oblivious to it. He's like, "What is this person doing here?" So are we getting towards that stardom? I think so. But it's kind of, to us, it's really just a journey that we're creating on TikTok. So.
The first time that it happened to you when somebody recognized you out in public, was it like a little bit of like a weird feeling or was it kind of a happy feeling?
So the way that this person approached me, I was at a grocery store and this lady was coming towards me with her cart. And I thought like she was going to ram my vehicle with her cart. I'm like, what is she doing? And then she comes up to us and she's like, "Oh my God, you guys are the ones from TikTok." And Dante had recently just bought a bottle of Listerine Total Care. He was all excited that he bought Listerine Total Care. And the lady's like, "Can I have a picture? Can I get a picture with you guys?" I'm like, "Sure." And she's like, "Hi, Dante." And Dante lifts up his bottle of Listerine. He's like, "Listerine." And she's like, "Yeah, Listerine," like, and so, and she took a picture with Dante and Dante had this big smile, like taking a picture with her. But you could just tell like how elated she was just to be able to like take a picture with us. So it was pretty, I was very humbled, but it was awesome. It was an awesome feeling.
So you just mentioned your son, Dante, who I think truly is the star of the TikToks. Can you tell us a little bit about Dante and what, your TikTok journey is really about?
So 2020, literally, as I mentioned, 2020 literally destroyed not only my son, but a lot of kids in the special, that have special needs in general. You heard the stories about kids having to be home working from, doing homeschooling and parents being home with their kids all day and not wanting to be on a laptop. You heard a lot about those stories in the media. But what you didn't hear a lot about is the kids with special needs. And I think kids with special needs, the parents and educators try to facilitate. But kids with autism are very routine bound. So in March, when they shut schools down in Minnesota, the first month, Dante was digging it like a lot. He was sleeping till 10:30. He was like, "I don't have to go to school today." Typical teenager stuff. Like he's like, "This is pretty cool. I don't get to go to school today." Through the summer, you could see that he was starting to fall apart a little bit because everything was off. We weren't going on vacations. We weren't going anywhere. He wasn't digging the masks, because of the sensory on his face, right? So he knew things were off. September came around and he started seeing school buses and he was like, "Okay, I'm going back to school." That's what happens in September. And he didn't go back to school. And I think September was the breaking point for him. We started seeing behaviors escalate in August. He wasn't the normal kid anymore. He started with a simple, "Hey, can we wait until later?" would turn into a wrestling match. Now, when he was 10 or 9 years old, maybe it was fun. I could handle him. At 17, 200 pounds, it's basically a UFC fight with your son in a hallway. And it wasn't fun anymore, right? And it became to the point where behaviors were so out of control. And we were giving him pharmaceutical meds. We were giving him meds. We ended up taking him to the emergency room late September. He ended up having a seizure at the emergency room and they had to intubate him for 2 days to be able to see what was going on because they didn't know what was going on. Thankfully, nothing was really happening in his brain. We thought maybe there was a bleed in his brain of some sort. Nothing was going on. It was 100% the fact that his life was turned upside down. And
it was a stress seizure.
Exactly. And the meds that he was on weren't doing much anymore, right? So at that point, we knew we had to do some changes in his life. as much as we could. Our house was getting destroyed. We were getting, I mean, we had bruises. He would take my wife and pull her by the hair and drag her down the hallway, and we'd have to intervene. It was, but about 10 minutes after that situation, he'd be sobbing in the corner full of remorse because he was completely out of his control. So it was, we were at the bottom. We were completely at the bottom.
So, and then did you have other pharmaceutical options? How did you find out about medical grade cannabis? How did that come into your life?
So medical cannabis has always been something that I was a strong believer in. My wife was diagnosed with epilepsy years ago. In Minnesota, it wasn't legal yet in Minnesota. We had friends that lived in Nevada that we knew that I always did my research into something a little more natural. I hated the chemicals I was giving my son every day. I hated every med I was giving him. A lot of the drugs that we give kids that have autism, they're literally brain depleting drugs, right? And I knew there had to be a different alternative, but you always listen to doctors. When you're growing up, your parents take you to the doctor. If you're something sick, they give you a prescription. You go get your prescription. A couple of weeks later, you feel better, right? You always listen to doctors. You follow that rule of thumb that when you're sick, you go to the doctor. And the psychiatrists really weren't doing it for me. They were just upping his dose. They were always upping his dose, and there was really no answers for us. And we went to see our family doctor, and he said, "Have you ever considered medical cannabis?" And we're like, "Yeah, absolutely." But we didn't know at that point that I think in 2015, autism was put under the regulations that we could get medical cannabis for Dante. And we're like, "Okay, let's jump on this one right away." We saw a medical practitioner. She visited Dante for, I think, 5 minutes because she actually has to see Dante.
Mm-hmm.
And Dante was in the office. He started acting up, and he was out. And she was like, "That's enough. I've seen it. I've seen enough." And I would say about 3 weeks later, we had our first appointment to go to a dispensary.
So is it a tincture that you give him, or is it, how do they, I've never seen, like, is it a pill that they use? How do you distribute this to Dante?
Yeah, so initially it started in a capsule, and so in Minnesota they don't give you strands. They don't give you like what type it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's all based on rate. It's all based on ratios, and so weight, height, and what ratio he should get. So initially he started on a 1 to 19 ratio, so 1 part THC to 19 part CBD, and so we got our prescription. We went down. We talked to the pharmacist. I never knew there was pharmacists at dispensaries. I was, yeah. I
thought it was all
looking into
hippies.
CBD and going to a smoke. Yeah, I went to a smoke shop to get some CBD one, and I asked the kid. I'm like, "So my son has autism," and he was like, "He has what?" I'm like, "Never mind."
Yeah, I'm gonna go to the next place.
I'm in the wrong place.
I'm totally in the wrong place. So the fact that I was able to talk to a pharmacist and was able to like guide us through this was so the first one was a capsule, and it had to be refrigerated, and it was broken down. They put like coconut oil, and they had to be refrigerated. That was the first time, and we did that for about a month. And so Dante metabolizes drugs. He metabolizes medicine like really quickly. And after about a month, we started seeing some irritation in the middle of the afternoon. So we called a dispensary, and they were able to up different doses. And right now he's actually moved up. He's graduated to a 1-to-1 ratio. So now he's on 2.5 milligrams of THC and 2.5 milligrams of CBD twice a day. And that's been another game changer for us completely. So.
Yeah, so reaching back to your previous point about the chemicals. So growing up, I actually, I still do to this day, suffer from Tourette's syndrome. And mine is all motor. It's in my hands and my face, and I've through a lot of years of ridicule, I have sort of learned how to sort of mask it and hide it and do coping mechanisms and stuff like that. But originally, my mom had put me on medicine. And the medicine, like you said, was like brain depleting. It literally turned me into a zombie. It turned me into a completely different person. And much to my mom's credit, she sort of put the onus on me to be like, all right, we're not gonna go that route. And I was lucky enough, I guess, with Tourette's syndrome that it is something that depending on the severity, is something that you can sort of deal and cope with. So I hats off to you for trying to look for a more natural route, because similarly to you, I think that some of these chemicals aren't the best route, depending on the situation.
Absolutely.
And then right when you started the medical marijuana with your son, you started TikTok. Is that correct? Or you were already on there before? How did this TikTok journey start?
So TikTok started after he got out of the hospital. I'm trying to go back on my timeline for my story with you guys. So after he got out of the hospital, we started doing videos on TikTok. My daughter had TikTok, and I was looking at her TikToks. I downloaded TikTok at first just to watch videos. And then I realized that days were going by and I was still on my damn phone, just scrolling up on different pictures and videos. So I kind of got hooked to TikTok pretty quickly. But I started doing videos of Dante's day to day. This is before going to the dispensary. We just started doing the day to day to Dante. Like, we had schedules. I'm an executive chef. So I started doing cooking videos on what I cook for Dante. Kids with autism are very particular in what they eat. They're very routine. Right. Like, some kids will eat chicken nuggets and that's it, right? So I started doing different videos on what I feed Dante. One of the videos I did was like, I make him pasta every morning, and he had like turkey sausage and he had like potatoes. And I did this video, and it was like, it reached like 50,000 people. I was like, holy crap, 50,000 people watched me cooking breakfast for Dante. And then I started getting messages on what I was using and different picture boards that my wife had created for Dante to do different choices. Because Dante is, I mean, he's not verbal. He has a certain amount of words. He's like, I would compare him to Bumblebee from Transformers, because he knows like every word to every movie that he's ever watched. So he does a lot of, it's called echolalia. So basically he'll repeat different movie things from different parts to try to put him in the certain moment that he's in, right? So in the mornings, my wife made these food charts that had all these different foods, and Dante would get to pick these different foods, and we would cook them that. We put that on TikTok. Parents are like, oh my God, we need these. So my wife and I started building these and shipping them all over the country into Canada also for free. Just helping parents, right? This I hear, we'll laminate. My wife had a stack of laminating papers, and we were just sitting here printing and just sending things to people. And because TikTok popularity was picking up with us, we were up to like 600-700 followers, and people were sending messages. We thought that maybe documenting this cannabis story that we were doing with Dante would be beneficial to the families as well. This was never for us. This was never for our enjoyment. Like, we like watching the videos. Some of my videos are fun to watch, but we wanted to make it about information and just getting the message across, right? So on that day that I mentioned to you guys, where I went to pick up Dante's first prescription, on that particular evening, I had just a little under 1,000 followers, and I posted a video, and after dinner, the video had over 700,000 views on the one video. And it was so funny. It was so memorable. So Tommy Chong had replied to the first video ever. And he said, I can't remember exactly what it said, but it was like, congratulations on your journey and a green heart. And I was like, wait a minute, is that Cheech? Was that really Cheech and Chong that, just posted something on here?
Surprised there wasn't a stray man in there. Like, hey man, really happy you're going on the journey, man.
Yeah, trust me, I got a lot of those now. Now that I'm in communication with Tommy, I get a lot of mans these days, and I still hear him say it. When I read it, I hear him say it exactly the way he says it too. So yeah, we started posting. We did a live that night. We had 15,000+ followers in one night, and it just started getting to the point where it was ramping up. And it wasn't just the followers, it was the comments. My God, the comments. It was really, I felt a weight on my shoulders that I had to document every day. Like, I had to document every single day, because these people depended on it. If I was late for a live and I would show up like a half hour later, the first like 15-20 comments are like, late tonight, aren't you? Like, people waiting to see what my day was like. And I think day 5 or day 8 was the comments started rolling in. You changed my life. I followed your path. I did A, B, and C, and I'm following you, and thank you for saving us. And that's when it kind of turned for me. So you mentioned the famous and star on TikTok. It became something so different so quickly for me, because it became a platform. It became this giant soapbox that I was able to stand on to be able to look out and see what parents needed me on that particular day and whatever I was talking about. So it became different very, very quickly. And one of the my daughter says, Dad, you don't have to answer everybody. Everyone that sent me messages, I felt an obligation to answer them because they took a time to say, this is my son, this is what's happening with me. And I would be up until 2, 3 in the morning answering messages every day because I thought I had to, because they were literally reaching out. I never had anything like that before. And this is the first time I've seen it. And then more and more and more people started jumping on the Dante's Journey bandwagon. So
do you feel I know you said that you were staying up till 2 in the morning. I gotta feel like a little bit of pressure, but it's gotta feel so good at the same time. It's gotta be a very unusual feeling that I think most of the world isn't used to. Like how was the process for you once you realize, hey, maybe I don't have to answer everybody tonight? Or are you still in that zone of I got to answer everybody no matter what?
I just hung up the phone with my producer about 20 minutes ago, and I said, "Are you going to be mad at me? I can't answer all these things anymore." Like literally, I'm not kidding you. It just happened. So last night, Tommy Chong duet, or 2 nights ago, Tommy Chong duetted my the promo, and I think on his platform it was shared like 1,000+ times, and the duets I've been getting now it's just been insane. It has been absolutely insane the last 24, 48 hours. And so a lot of people knew about Dante's Journey and how it evolved and how it's evolving now. But it was incredible. And I try to skim through some of these messages, like the ones that, if you have like 6 hearts, I'll just like heart it and move on, but some of the messages, I read a message from my mom tonight saying that her neighbor has a son with autism with severe behaviors, and last year she said that her son comes with a paycheck if she can just take her son from her. Like, wow. Parents, that's where parents are at. They're at the end they have nothing, right? And Dante is lucky. Like, Dante is lucky to have parents like us that were there, we're advocating, we can provide for Dante how he needs to. Mm-hmm. But I would say the majority of the parents out there are struggling. They're struggling a lot. And I see comments like that, guys, and it makes me want to push even harder. And that's what brings us to this documentary. The documentary is really, it's not a documentary anymore. It's really a movement that's happening.
And you already released the promo for it. It's about 6 minutes long. Can you kind of go through that? I know that you and Dante, you guys have gone on vacation, and I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name who's down in Texas, whose son also has autism, that you went and he was in the promo. Are you going to be going and reaching out, and you don't have to give any spoilers or anything, but are you meeting with other families of children that have autism and kind of guiding them through the process?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've done, for the promo, we've actually done some filming. So we went to actually meet him already. We went to Texas. There's some families here in Minnesota. Through the documentary, now that we're trying to get all the moving parts to come together on this, we have families in Connecticut, in Georgia, New York, California, Indiana. I could literally probably name every state. But the families that we need to talk to, and it started as when we first met with our director from W2 Films, Rich Whalen. He heard the story. He knew about the TikTok because of his son, which I thought was funny. His son followed us on TikTok, and I thought it was funny that he heard from us by his son. But he said, this is a love story. This is this is a story about cannabis and how it helped your son, but this is really a love story, because there is families that are going to be in this documentary that they live in states where it's not legal, medical or rec, right? So they're trying to really get by the best they can.
Right.
So it's really a love story that a parent will do anything they possibly can for their child, no matter what. Like, seriously, no matter what, right? So we're going to be visiting these families, but it's really about going to visit not only the families. We have legislators that we're going to be talking to. We're literally climbing up the ladder. I met with a legislator 3 days ago in Minnesota who voted against medical marijuana in Minnesota, and in a 6 minute and I think it was 6:50, that promo. I think, 6 minutes. He was literally bawling and looked at me, and he apologized. He apologized to me for not looking into something a little closer and just kind of going along with his party and voting something down. So that was just one person in 6 minutes. I have 8 months of filming left in this documentary. Imagine what I'm going to do in 8 months. So
it's going to be unreal. How hard is it to get in front of these people that pass legislation? Is it something that's pretty difficult, or with the TikTok clout, I guess you could say, it gets a little bit easier?
Well, some are intimidated by it because they may know I'm Italian, first of all. Like, I'm not going to accept no for an answer, first of all.
First, I mean, you just got to bring like a Louisville Slugger with you and be like, do we really
I'm watching myself, and I was like, I better get the freaking chain in here. I don't want to be like that total like Italian with the big chain out, it's harder than others to be able to talk to people, especially if it's, I mean, cannabis, let's face it, cannabis is still it's still a Schedule I narcotic, right? It's a taboo. People don't like talking about it, right? Mm-hmm. I had a lady in Connecticut reach out to me, and she has a 25-year-old. He's 6'3", and he literally almost put her in the hospital because of behaviors. Like, she couldn't say anything to him, right? And she said, my doctor's telling me this. And I said, I need to stop you for a second. You need to go. I said, when's your next doctor's appointment? She's like, Friday. I said, go in on Friday and fire your doctor. She's like, what? I said, go fire your doctor. I said, doctors are doing too much talking and they're not listening. And that's your issue. Your doctor just wants to talk and give you another prescription. I said, go fire your doctor if he's not going to help you. And she did, which I was really proud of her. And she found someone else that was able to prescribe her something for her son. And the doctor was like, do you want something for yourself too, dear? I thought that was pretty funny. But she called me when we were traveling back from Texas. She had called me crying. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Kimberly, what's going on? And she's like, I'm watching a movie with Devin. I'm like, yeah. And she's like, I'm watching a movie with Devin on the couch right now. I haven't done that ever. And she was just beside herself. Like, she's like, you saved our family. And I'm like, I'm driving, I'm like tears, like, I'm like, I can't, and then it was amazing. Like, when I first talked to her, I did a TikTok and I said, I mentioned Connecticut. I just mentioned Connecticut. And the next day I got a DM on TikTok saying, I'm in Connecticut. Maybe I can reach out to this mom. Yeah. I was like, what? So I called this lady and she screamed. There's the stardom for you. She screamed. She's like, oh my God, you're calling me? I said, okay, put that aside for a sec, and I said, what do you mean you would reach out to her? And she's like, well, I have a 10-year-old with autism. They're very high functioning, da, 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 da. And she's like, maybe I can reach out. And the lady called Kimberly to see if there's anything she can do to help her. I mean, talk about how does a social media platform do this, right? Like this, it builds an entire community. This is like the good side. Trust me, I found the bad side of TikTok. It's there. I think we all have.
You don't have to look far.
yeah. It's like at that time, my wife will say to me at times, she's like, "Oh, it's at that time of night." I'm like, "Yeah." As you're scrolling up, it's like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, it's that time of night." But it's just incredible. Like, I always tell people, we're all in the same swimming pool. Some in the shallow end and some are drowning in the deep end. And the person in the deep end may not want to say I'm drowning because they're too proud, because they're a proud person, right? And I think I'm just giving them that opportunity to say it. I mean, I got all these life jackets. Do you want one? Like, I have one right here. And they're like, okay, I'll take one of your life jackets, right? And I think that's what these parents are doing now. They're finding a way to reach out. And I spoke to a doctor yesterday. So the dispensary that Dante gets his cannabis from here in Minnesota is called Green Goods. And the mothership is a company called Vireo. And they're a giant company. And the chief medical officer saw our promo. And he called me and he said, I can't remember the last time I cried at the office, Mario, but I just want to tell you that what you're doing is a dream of what we've been trying to change, that mentality and education of what medical cannabis can really do. And I told him, I said, no offense, you're a doctor, but people are sick and tired of hearing it from doctors. They don't want to know what a doctor has to say. They want to hear it from a parent. And I think that's the connection. I think that's how, I think the last time we checked on our analytics, it's like 12 million people a month are seeing our videos, and they're able to get something, and then they send me something, or they send us a message, and they just want to talk. They just want to talk and be able to find a way. So I think this documentary is a first step of something that's going to be coming down the road, that's going to be way bigger than this documentary. So
Go ahead.
I was going to say, you have 8 more months of filming, correct?
approximately, yeah, 8 more months.
And yeah, I saw when you drove, it was to Florida or someplace. You have big RV. Are you going RV tour across the country? Is that how you're doing everything?
So we are. So since 2020, the whole mask thing, I've heard too many horror stories about kids getting pulled off of planes because they don't want to wear a mask, and that terrifies me. If Dante, first of all, when we traveled, Dante loves flying. He loves airports. I got pictures of Dante playing a Blues Clues game, sitting in a Delta lounge, surrounded by like businessmen reading their paper. And there's Dante with his he's with his legs crossed, like with an apple juice and a Blues Clues game that he's playing. Like, you know, so Dante loves airplanes, loves traveling. But I was too scared to have them remove him. So my wife and I decided to buy this monstrosity of a bus to be able to go around the country with. So
I was going to say, you're a modern rock star, basically.
Yeah, self-made, right? I usually I told our director, I'm like, when is my tour bus going to be here? It's like, oh, what?
Where
I don't
are my
one?
roadies?
Shit.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what? I gotta load this thing.
what's the learning curve on driving something that big?
You know, so it took a minute because it's basically a house, right? And the windshield. I think the first thing was the windshield is the size of my vehicle, basically, right? And you're sitting so far back, so when you turn, like it takes a minute. But once you get going and you actually start knowing, you know, where you would kill the other person on the other side of the road and where the ditch is, that once you learn those two things, thank God for rumble strips. That's all I got to say. Like, you know, it's like, oh, there's the ditch. And the scary ones are when you're going over a construction bridge and there's like no barriers and you're so high. And you're like, oh my God, if I make one wrong move, we're going off, right? But it kind of drives itself down the road. But it's nice because Dante, you know, he sits in a king size bed and watches TV all day, and he gets up and he raids the fridge. And if he has to go to the bathroom's right there. And it is pretty amazing.
I know you said that with the mask and everything, with his sensory stuff, but he likes to travel. I also noticed he seems like a fish in water. He loves to swim. Is that correct?
Yes, that he would swim any time of year. Like I think a couple of weeks ago we went to Wisconsin. There was literally ice on the lake, like on the other side of the lake, and he jumped right off the dock, right into the water. You know, the whole lake hurt him because it was still pretty cold. But he just loves he loves water. I think that when we were in Corpus Christi here a few weeks ago filming, I think he spent like 3 hours without stopping in the waves, just like constant waves. And I'm like, dude, can you please put some sunscreen on? He's like, no. I'm like, okay, well, good luck with tonight, you know. But and the next day, boom, right back at it again. Yeah, he loves the water.
It's absolutely awesome. Yeah, I saw the one video where I think he jumped in a hot tub and then you made him run out. Well, you didn't make him, but you opened the door and let him run outside and get some snow back on him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He did like a mini polar plunge himself.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Where can the people find this documentary? Where can they find the GoFundMe for it? Where can they find you online?
So right now, everything is at itsdantesjourney.com, and there's links that send you to the GoFundMe. The GoFundMe is really meant to fund this documentary. And the reason why we did it this way is we didn't, like when we first said we were doing a documentary because of TikTok, we had a ton of people reach out to us very quickly with deep pockets, right? The one thing that we didn't want is we didn't want this documentary to be a commercial for X company that wants to sponsor and see their name on the credits, right? We wanted this to be parent driven. We wanted the followers to be able to say, hey, donate $5 and, you know, this can make a big difference. Here I'm thinking, you know, I have 120,000+ followers. Other people have this, blah, blah, blah. It's going to take us no time. I think the big thing here is that when people hear of documentaries or movies, they don't think of GoFundMes. They don't think of, you know, a Kickstarter program to be able to get this thing up and running. They just think, I can't wait to see it. where's it going to be on, right? So I think it's trying to change that perception a little bit. But we do have some big donors now that we're talking to that want nothing to do besides help our cause, which I think will be amazing to help us really get going on this. But the foundation, the nonprofit that was set up on this was not only for the documentary. We want to be able to turn around and take money from this nonprofit to go to the families that can't either afford cannabis, or they can't. Our producers say, can we just go buy them cannabis? I'm like, no, that's dealing drugs. We can't do that, you know. But you know, to be able to give them the opportunities to do different things within. So that's what we want to do. We want to raise as much money to be able to go to these families that are reaching out to us that have nothing, to become Ellen DeGeneres basically, and say, here you go, here's a big check to be able to help you through next month, or whatever the case may be. But I think the momentum is coming. We have some pretty big interviews for the documentary that I won't give away that are incredible. I'm just, like I said, I'm in awe of the people that are reaching out now. And like I mentioned, this is definitely a movement. This is not about the stigma of, hey, let's get high. And I get that question all the time: is Dante high? Dante's not high. He's, you know, it slows his brain to the point where he's able to live a quality of life. So it's dantesjourney.com. That's where you can find the GoFundMe. You can watch the promo, but really it's about support right now. And our director said it perfectly today. He said, it's not, even if someone doesn't donate, if they're following our story and they're supporting that story, when it turns around, when we go sell this thing to whatever platform decides to take this to stream it, whether it be Netflix, Amazon, whoever wants it, right? We have an agent friend of ours that said, good luck with that bidding war when we're done with this, because everyone's going to want a piece of this, right? I think if you can go to a Netflix and tell them you have, 20 million people waiting to see this, can you imagine that selling point when you're trying to sell a documentary, So we're not panicking at all. The GoFundMe is not the only source of doing this documentary. The documentary is getting done one way or the other. Whatever money we can raise from this is really going to be for the families that need this.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, finally, the only thing that I had left was Mario. I mentioned this a little bit before we got started, but just dad to dad, you're an inspiration. When I grow up as a dad, I want to be Mario Corto. I want to have the same devotion for my kids that you do, because it's very, very evident that you'll do anything for your kids, and it's truly incredible, and it's an inspiration. And I did catch you said you're an executive chef, so I'll be looking for you on Chopped or something like that. I think that's the next step. It's celebrity dad to celebrity chef. I think that's the step. I think that's
there. You go.
Is.
You guys start promoting that one, and we'll see how it happens in a couple years from now. and Nick, thank you for that comment. You have it in you, dude. Like seriously, every parent. I talked to a mom yesterday. She said, I'm worrying about GPA and I'm worried about grades for my son. And she's like, I don't even know if I have it in me to love my kid as much and go through with what you do. And I said, we all have it in us. It's all there. So no matter what, Nick, just know that you have it in you. It's right there. It's just different moments in life where your love has to kick in. And mine was set pretty high at a very young age for my son, right? And I'm hoping to get to a point where not love them less, but be able to have a more normal-ish life. But just know that all the love that you need to have for your children is right there. And you're going to be, no matter what, you're an amazing dad.
Awesome.
And where can the people find you on TikTok, though? You shouted out, Dante's Journey. Where can they find you, though?
At Mario Corto. That's me. And usually I pop up in the most random places. But the latest one with Cheech and Chong was pretty amazing. And Tommy has been following us for a while now. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm not gonna say anything else, but it's been really amazing. And we're just trying to make change. We're trying it, and you hear about it, that there's change coming, and then that a lot of states are going to be becoming more lenient. I think one of the biggest things that we have to change immediately is the reciprocity when it comes from one state to the other. For example, if I leave Minnesota and I have Dante's medical cannabis with me, it's a felony. I can't leave the state unless I go to another state that has medical, right? So that's one of the things that we're going to push for immediately. That can be on the Senate floor next week to be able to say, because if you have a Percocet prescription, you want to fly somewhere, you can fly with your prescription. It's the same thing. You shouldn't be like segregated because you have a prescription from something. So, but we have a big fight ahead of us. And if you don't hear from me in 6 months, it's because Big Pharma took me out. But I hope not. But
Let's hope not, for sure.
I am Italian. I got resources. We can, we can figure something
We'll make
out.
it work.
We'll make it work. Exactly.
But thank you again so much. I had a great time. I hope you did too.
Absolutely. I had a great time. Thanks guys for everything. And if you ever need anything more, I'm right here.
Appreciate it.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks guys.